Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with another episode of the Golden Age. This is our series of Warhammer Fantasy Battle Reports, and this is Battle Report number 125. It is a 3,000 point battle that is fought between Khorne, Legion of Chaos, and Stormcast Eternals. My friend Big Puka is bringing Bound by Blood, his 3,000 point Khorne, Legion of Chaos army, and I am bringing the Celestial Vindicators, my 3,000 point Stormcast Eternals army. So in case you're tuning in for the very first time, what we've been doing on our series, The Golden Age, is that we've been taking Stormcast Eternals, which are usually used in Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and we've been playing them in 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Originally, I used to make Age of Sigmar battle reports a couple of years ago on this channel on a regular basis. The only problem was that my friends and I didn't really enjoy the game that much, so because of that we wanted to go back to Warhammer Fantasy. And the problem that I ran into is that I had my Stormcast Eternals army just kind of sitting around collecting dust, not doing much of anything. Recently I was able to find some rules for my Stormcast Eternals, be able to use Warhammer 8.5 edition rules from the Bells of Lost Souls website. And so because of that, we've been taking these Stormcast Eternals and been putting them through their paces. Now up to this point, I've actually been playing these Stormcast Eternals incorrectly. I got some of their rules mixed up. So because I reread my army's rules again, and now I got a better grasp and understanding how the army works, so now I'm going to back with a vengeance for this one. Currently, our army's record right now is at 4 victories and 6 defeats, so they have not been doing too good. But hopefully now that I've read the rules a little bit better, hopefully that will have a better fighting chance against the Khorne Legion of Chaos. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play some background music real quick. As the music is playing, we will show you photos of both armies as well as army lists. If you want to see exactly what we're bringing for this one, you can pause and take a look at your own leisure, or you can check down the description box down below, and you'll find the army list located there as well. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Khorne, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Balor pleases you, Khorne. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then the hell with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
So the scenario rules for this one is Battle Line. It is the most typical game of Warhammer Fantasy that we play on this channel with standard deployment as well as standard victory conditions. So with the scenario rules over, let's go and talk about battle plans as well as deployments. So here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield. As you can see, my friend Big Puka and I are playing on a 4x6 table. I'm deployed on the near side of the table while Big Puka is deployed on the far side of the table. So for my battle plan on this one, my plan is to pretty much try to capture my friend Big Puka in a full envelopment. I plan on sending my Palador Hunters on the right hand side as well as my prosecutors on the left hand side, and I plan on actually sending them up the flanks to kind of surround the flanks on either side of my friend's army and hopefully destroy him that way. At the same time, I'm also planning on sending my infantry forces on the right hand flank with my liberators as well as my paladin retributors and march up the right hand flank and then do a right hook and hopefully destroy him that way. At the same time, keeping my shooting elements behind my main battle line and doing some long range shooting and whittling down his forces as well. As at the same time, I was talking to my friend Big Puka. His plan is actually to play somewhat defensively. He plans to kind of hang back, whittle down my forces with some of his three skull cannons that he has in his army. At the same time, kind of secure his flanks at the same time with his demons on the right hand side as well as his knights on the left hand side, and then charge his 2 main infantry blocks forward in order to finish me off in close combat. So with battle plans over, let's go and talk about deployment real quick. So with that, let's go and talk about the deployment for the Celestial Vindicators, my 3,000 point Stormcast Eternals army. So on the left hand side, I have a unit called the Seraphs of the Aether. It is a unit of 5 prosecutors. They are armed with paired celestial hammers. Also leading that unit, I also have 2 characters leading it. First of all, I have Icarus the Lamplighter. He's a Knight Azeros. He's got Sigmar armor as well as a Starblade. He's also got the Shriving Light as well. Also, right next on the right hand side, that is Orion the Sky Hunter. He's my Knight Venator. He's got a Realm Hunter's bow, Sigmar armor, and at the same time, he's got his wonderfully named Star-Fated Arrow as well. So continuing my battle line from the left working to my right. Up in the front we have the Skyforge Snipers. There's a unit of 3 Vanguard Raptors armed with long strike crossbows. They also got targeting scopes as well. And right behind them are also my Aether Wings, which are my Venerable Falcons. I have 3 of those guys posted up on the left hand side right behind them. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side there, I got a unit of Judicators. I have 10 Judicators called the Scions of Mercy. They have Sigmaron armor as well as Skybolt bows, and they also have 2 Shockbolt bows located in that unit as well. And then right next to him as well, I got another character that is Horus the Stormbringer. He is a Knight Vexillor. He's also my army's battle standard bearer. He's also got a great weapon, and he's got the Meteoric Standard as well. At the same time, in my main center lines, on the left-hand side there, right in the middle of the river, in a skirmish formation, I have my Zenithal Titans, a unit of 5 Paladin Retributors with Thunder Hammers. And on the right-hand side, that is the Solemn Martyrs, unit of 10 Liberators. They got Sigmaron armor, great weapons, as well as shields. And also that leading that unit also got 3 characters. First of all, in the center, I have Jethum the Sullen. He's my Lord Relictor. He's got Sigmaron armor, as well as a Relic Hammer. He's also got the Lightning Storm, Healing Storm, as well as Lightning Chariot ability. He's also a level 1 Wizard, who's also got a Dispel Scroll. Right next to him on the right-hand side, that is Jericho the Doomcaller. He is my Knight Heralder. He's got Sigmaron armor as well as a Sigmarite Broadsword. He's also got his Thunder Blast Trumpet. And then finally, on the left-hand side is my army's general. His name is the Lord Ios of Azure Earth, and he is riding a Drake. He's a Lord Celestion on Dracoth called the Thundercaller. He's got Sigmaron armor as well as a Sigmarite Rune Blade. He's also mounted on a Dracoth. He's also got the Staunch Defender ability, which means that when my general friendly units within 6 inches of him are -1 hit against in the shooting phase, unless of course they're engaged in close combat. And finally, on the far right-hand side, I have my unit of 3 Vanguard Paladors called the Heralds of Heaven. They got Sigmaron armor as well as Star Strike Javelins, and they're also riding Griff Chargers. And that pretty much makes my deployment for this one. So moving across the battlefield to the Bound by Blood, which is Big Puka's 3,000 point Khorne Legion Chaos Army. And the back that unit is called the Scions of the Destroyer is a unit of 8 Chaos Knights of Khorne with a Musician, Standard Bearer. They also are mounted with ensorcel weapons. They also got Chaos Steeds, and they also have the Standard Discipline giving them +1 to leadership. And then of course leading that unit is Arbaal the Destroyer. He's an Exalted hero of Khorne. He's also the army's battle standard bearer as well. He's got a great weapon as well as Chaos Armor, Shield, and mounted on a Daemonic mount. At the same time, he also has the Helm of Many Eyes, which also gives him +1 his armor save, gives him immune to psychology, always strike first, and unfortunately stupidity. Right in front of them is a unit called the Fangs of Nier, which is a unit of 5 Chaos Warhounds. So moving up to the center of his army, right in the front there we got 2 Skull Cannons. Left-hand side that's Crimson Chaos, followed by the Blood Rider. And then right behind them, of course, we also got some huge units of infantry. On the left-hand side, that is called the Black Legion, is a unit of 24 Chosen of Khorne with Musician and Standard Bearer. They also got Chaos Armor as well as Halberds. And they also got the Banner of Rage, which means they can never lose their frenzy. Also, if you want to know what the rewards of Chaos ability is, they got +1 to their armor save. Right next to him on the right-hand side, that unit is called the Marked Men. Is a unit of 30 Chaos Warriors of Khorne with Musician and Standard Bearer. They have additional hand weapons, Chaos Armor, as well as shields. And then right behind them is the army's general, that is the Ragged Knight. He is a Demon Prince of Khorne. He's got Demonic Flight as well as Chaos Armor. He's got the Sword of Might for +1 strength, a Dragonbane gem for 2 upward save against flaming attacks. He's also got Flaming Breath upgrade, Scaled Skin, as well as Soul Feeder. And finally, make up his far right-hand side up in the front, that is Red Room, which is another Skull Cannon of Khorne. And then right behind them is a unit called the Sanguine Skinners. It is a unit of 24 Bloodletters of Khorne with Position Standard Bearer. They got Hellblades as well as the Standard of Swiftness, giving them +1 to their movement value. And that pretty much makes up deployment for this one. So deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and Big Puka and I roll off for initiative to see which of us will be going first. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1, and this photo is taken after the move phase, and I managed to get the initiative on this one, so I will be going first. So as you can see, there's an overhead shot on the entirety of the battlefield, and as you can see, I'm already off starting on my plan as we speak. So the first thing I do, of course, is that I also make sure that my Judicators, as well as my Liberators, have shield wall formations. What that means is that they actually lose their skirmisher characteristic for their special rule, but they act like normal infantry. Now the problem is, of course, they can't march when they decide to take up the shield wall formation. However, though, this means I actually act like normal infantry. I have rank bonuses and all that good stuff, so that's the reason why I'm taking it, because I didn't really use that rule before, and it really cost me some advantages that I needed in my earlier battle reports. So that's the first thing that ends up happening. So when it comes up to my movement phases, of course, I don't have any charges, but I do move my forces as quickly as possible. The first thing I do is I march fly my Sarus of the Aether over that hill on the left-hand side to park myself right directly in the upper left-hand corner of the battlefield, staring down that beautiful left-hand flank of the entire main battle line for Bound by by blood. At the same time, I also use the Ride the Wind's Etheric ability for my Heralds of Heaven. I roll 66, and as you can see, I end up all the way up to the right-hand side of the battlefield, right next to that ruined building on the right-hand side, staring down the right-hand flank of my enemy. Meanwhile, at the same time, I also march up forward with my Zenithal Titans. They move up exactly 8 inches forward, doubling their movement characteristic. And since they're skirmishers, they can move down the river without any problems. At the same time, I also move up my Solemn Martyrs. My Liberators go up their own normal movement allowance because they're taking a shield wall formation, so they can't march. Meanwhile, as for my my Skyforce Snipers, as well as my Scions of Mercy, they just stand their ground, so that way they can shoot twice. And finally, left-hand side, I do move up my Venerable Falcons just slightly to the left-hand side to protect them from being charged against from my enemy's Chaos Warhounds. And that pretty much makes it the move phase for this one. So here's a close-up of the Ceres of the Aether, landing on the far left-hand flank with Icarus and Lamplighter, as well as my Venator. My Venator is Orion the Skyhunter. Getting ready to put some damage here on the left-hand flank of my enemy's main battle line. And here's a close-up of the Venerable Falcons, the Skyforce Sniper, as well as my Scions of Mercy. And as you notice, my Scions of Mercy have taken up a shield wall defensive position. And over here on the right-hand side, as you can see, I got my Zenithal Titans moving up the river, followed by my Liberators from the Solemn Martyrs. And once again, my Solemn Martyrs are also taking a shield wall formation as well. And finally, here's a close-up of the Heralds of Heaven, who've parked themselves right to the right-hand flank of Red Ruin, getting ready to strike that War Machine with their Star Strike Javelins. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the Magic phase. And the Magic phase, I was able to use Lightning Chariot on my Zenithal Titans. I moved them about 24 inches and parked them right smack dab, right between the Marksman on the left-hand side, as well as the Sanguine Skinners on the right-hand side as well. I was able to get that spell out because my opponent doesn't have any wizards in his army, because he's going with a pure no magic build, which is very Khorne of him and narrative to do that. So with the Magic phase over with, we go directly to the Shooting phase. So with the shooting phase going on, it was pretty much a lackluster shooting phase. The first thing that ends up happening is that my Skyforce Snipers opened up with their long strike crossbows directly into the Fangs of Nier. They were able to plink off 2 of those Chaos Warhounds. Luckily for my opponent, though, he did manage to pass his panic test, so because of that, his Chaos Warhounds are perfectly fine. Meanwhile, for the rest of the shooting phase, my Ceres of the Aether concentrate fire with their Celestial Hammers directly into the Signs of the Destroyer. I was able to kill 2 of those Chaos Knights. It could have been better, but at the same time, though, I'll take what I can get. However, the real star of the show, though, was Orion the Skyhunter. Orion the Skyhunter used a Star-Fated arrow to open fire directly onto the Crimson Chaos, which was the very first of the Skull Cannons. Managed to take that guy out with my Star-Fated arrow, was able to put all the wounds directly onto him, and took out that Skull Cannon without any problems. Meanwhile, my Scions of Mercy concentrated their fire with both their Skybolt bows and their Shockbolt bows directly into the Blood Rider, which was the Skull Cannon right there in the middle of the formation. Was able to kill that Skull Cannon as well and put that guy out of commission. So just like that, 2 of my enemy's Skull Cannons are now out of commission. And lastly, on the far right-hand side, I concentrate fire with the Heralds of Heaven, throwing their Star Strike Javelins directly into Red Ruin. I was able to put 4 wounds on that guy, so I was 1 wound away from actually killing that Skull Cannon, but at the same time, though, I'll take what I can get at this point. So with the shooting phase over with, we skip the combat phase because no one's engaged in close combat, and we go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Khorne Legion of Chaos. Alright, so that takes us directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Khorne Legion of Chaos, and this photo is taken after the move phase. So, what ends up happening is that my buddy Big Puka, first thing he does, he declares a charge with his general, the Ragged Knight, directly into the Ceres of the Aether. I decide to stand and shoot as a reaction. Unfortunately for him, when he rolled his dice to see how far he went, he actually rolled 4 is what he ended up doing, rolling a 2 and a 2 and another 2 for your strip stride rule, so that only moved up forward at 4 inches with his charge. So because he did fail it, only went up 2 inches, but because I decided to stand and shoot as a reaction, I got to open fire with all my Celestial Hammers, as well as with my Orion the Skyhunter using his Realm Hunter's bow. And unfortunately for Big Puka, I was able to slip through all of his wounds and manage to kill his Demon Prince right off the bat. So just like that, his general is dead. Luckily for him, though, most of his military forces consist of Frenzy Khorne warriors, so they're immune to psychology. But at the same time, though, my opponent's Demon Prince, dead right off the bat, which is absolutely fantastic. So in response, he pretty much just rushes everything else forward. He sends up the Fangs of Nier up their maximum wound allowance on the left-hand side, have them march across the battlefield directly to my left-hand flank to kind of push some pressure on it. At the same time, he also does a quick reform real quick with his cavalry forces from the Signs of the Destroyer to face off against the Ceres of the Aether. He then marches up the Black Legion as well as the Marked Men, moving up their maximum wound allowance forward. And he kind of does the same thing with the Sanguine Skinners on the right hand side. I think he moves them up 10 inches is what he ends up doing. He just lands 4 inches short of actually making his max moon allowance, and the reason why is because he doesn't want to be countercharged by my Sullen Martyrs, which actually kind of makes sense. Meanwhile, Red Ruin, though, the very last of his skull cannons, it actually points itself over to the left hand side and moves up closer, so that way he can open fire with Grape Shot directly into my Heralds of Heaven. And that pretty much makes up his move phase for this one. So here's a close-up of the Fangs of Nier moving up as quick as they can directly towards my left-hand flank in order to buy his forces some time from being shot at. And here's a close-up of the Fangs of the Destroyer facing off the left-hand side to take on my Ceres of the Aether, and at the same time in the back you can see the dead, now dying corpse of the Ragged Knight slowly decomposing in the backfield, being shot to pieces by my prosecutors. And here's a close-up of the Black Legion as well as the marked men moving up as quick as they can down the center of the battlefield. And here's a close-up of the Sanguine Skinners moving up as quick as they can down the right-hand flank of the battlefield. At the same time, Red Ruin squaring off against my Heralds of Heaven, getting ready to shoot him with Grape Shot. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. So although my opponent doesn't have a magic phase per se because he has no wizards, though, he still gets the Reign of Chaos chart, so when he rolls up the ones of magic, rolls a 3, which is Punishment of the Gods. Luckily for him, though, he only has one additional character in this army, which is Arbaal the Destroyer, and he managed to pass the leadership test, so no harm, no foul. So with the magic phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. And in the shooting phase, Red Ruin opens up with Grape Shot, managed to get 10 shots off from the artillery die, and managed to kill one of my Heralds of the Heavens right off the bat. So just like that, puts 6 wounds directly into my unit. Luckily for me, though, I did pass my panic test, so my guys do stand their ground, but still, that's one less fighter I actually have in my unit now. So with the shooting phase over, we skip the combat phase because no one's engaged in close combat. We go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Stormcast Eternals. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Stormcast Eternals, and this photo is taken after the movement phase, so I decided to go on the offense on this one. So the first thing I do, of course, is I declare a charge with my Heralds of Heaven. They're only like a handful of inches away from Red Ruin, so because of that, they have no problem engaging that skull cannon in close combat. At the same time, I also declare a charge with my Sullen Martyrs, and I actually long bomb that charge, rolling an 11 on that charge distance, so it's absolutely fantastic. So my Sullen Martyrs go crashing directly into the Sanguine Skinners and catch him in the front. At the same time, I also declare a charge with my Zenithal Titans who go directly into the back of the Sanguine Skinners, so now those guys are actually stuck in a pincer attack, being attacked from the front as well as in the back, which is absolutely fantastic. I then declare a charge with my Venerable Falcons, so my 3 Aether Wings go directly into the Fangs of Nier, the last 3 Chaos Warhounds that are left over, which is absolutely fantastic. I then, for my last move, I then March Fly my Ceres the Aether to land right behind the main battle lines of both the Black Legion as well as the Marked Men. Meanwhile, my Scions of Mercy as well as my Skyforce Snipers stand their ground because why move them? The Skyforce Snipers either move or shoot, and I get to shoot twice in a row with my Adjudicators. And that pretty much makes up my move phase for this one. So here's a close-up of my Skyforce Snipers as well as my Scions of Mercy standing their ground and get ready to shoot again. At the same time as a close-up of the Venerable Falcons charging directly into the Fangs of Nier. And here's a close-up of my Ceres the Aether with both Orion the Sky Hunter and Icarus the Lamplighter pulling some movement shenanigans by popping right behind my enemy's lines, getting ready to bring the pain with some shooting with Celestial Hammers. And finally, there's a close-up of my Sullen Martyrs charging directly into the front with the Sanguine Skinners and catching them in a pincer attack with my Zenithal Titans right behind them. And then finally, the top right-hand corner, I have my Heralds of Heaven going directly into Red Ruin and catching them in close combat. So with the movement phase over with, we actually go directly to the magic phase. And during the magic phase, I was able to get Healing Storm off with Jethune the Sullen, managed to bring back one of my fallen Hunter Paladors, which is absolutely fantastic. He comes back with 2 wounds left, so because he does have 4 wounds on him right off the bat, but at the same time, though, that's a fighter that I could bring back, and I could also heal, and he could also fight as well, which is absolutely fantastic. So with the magic phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. So during the shooting phase, as you can see here, I actually did some pretty good damage on this one. Managed to kill Arbaal the Destroyer, which is the battle standard bearer for this army. I was able to do it because of Orion the Sky Hunter. He uses his sniper ability with his Realm Hunter bow, was able to kill him that way, put 3 wounds directly onto him, and then finally his Star Eagle was able to put the very last wound on him, managed to kill that battle standard bearer, which is absolutely fantastic. At the same time, I concentrate fire with the Skyforce Snipers as well as my Scions of Mercy, as well as the Ceres the Aether from behind. I was able to kill 12 members of the Marked Men, which is absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, though, they did not panic, and the reason why is because they have Frenzy on them, so because of that, they're currently immune to psychology. So with the shooting phase over with, we go directly to the combat phase. And the combat phase, my Venerable Falcons had no problem whatsoever killing off every single member of the Fangs of Nier, so those Chaos Warhounds are dead. And since I destroyed them on the charge, I decided to overrun. I think I go up, 6 or 7 inches directly right in front of the Black Legion, and basically march blocking those guys, which is absolutely fantastic. Meanwhile, over here on the right-hand side, combat between the Sanguine Skinners and the Solemn Martyrs was absolutely brutal. It's amazing what happens when you actually read your army rulebook like you're supposed to. So, as you can see, when it's all said and done, I killed 11 members of the Sanguine Skinners. They did kill 2 of my Liberators, which was kind of sad, but combined with my charge, as well as my front attack with my rank bonuses now because of the shield wall formation, as well as my Zenithal Titans attacking from the back, I just clear stopped these guys and just destroyed them with combat res alone. And as you can see in this photo, when it's all said and done, I think there's only 3 or 4 members of the Sanguine Skinners left after they crumble because of Demonic Instability rule, which is fantastic. And at the same time, my Heralds of Heaven had no problem putting the very last wound on the Red Ruin and managed to kill the very last of these Skull Cannons. So with the combat phase over with, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Khorne Legion of Chaos. Alright, so it takes directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Khorne Legion of Chaos, and this photo is taken after the move phase. As you can see, the first thing he does, of course, he declares a charge with the Black Legion against my Venerable Falcons. I decide to flee as a reaction. He decides to pursue. Unfortunately for him, though, he only goes up forward 4 inches because he failed his charge distance. So because of that, my Venerable Falcons gets away, and he also does the movement for the Black Legion. So because I decides to march up his marked men as quick as he can, having them move up their full maximum allowance of 8 inches directly towards my Scions of Mercy. Meanwhile, he does a swift reform real quick with his Scions of the Destroyer to face off against the Serfs of the Aether facing off in the back. Meanwhile, his Sanguine Skinners, he's got about 4 of those guys left, but considering they're in a pincer attack with a almost full unit of Liberators and 5 Zenithal Titans from my Paladin Retributors, things are not looking very good for him on the right-hand flank. So here's a close-up of the Scions of the Destroyer getting ready to charge off and moving around to finally engage my forces from the Serfs of the Aether on the back right-hand side. And here's a close-up of my Venerable Falcons who managed to escape the wrath of the Black Legion, but at the same time you can see the marked men are moving up as quick as they can by trying to march across the battlefield. And finally, there's a close-up of the Sanguine Skinners facing off with remains of my Solemn Martyrs, as well as my Zenithal Titans, as well as my Heralds of Heaven. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. So with that, my opponent rolls up on the magic phase because he does get power dice for the Reign of Chaos chart. He gets Chaotic Ebb is what he gets. Because of that, his Sanguine Skinners actually suffer -1 to their ward save for this turn, which is absolutely the worst thing he could have rolled for his forces. So with the magic phase over with, we skip shooting phase because all of his shooting elements are dead, and we go directly to close combat. Close combat was pretty quick. I was able to finish out the last of the Sanguine Skinners with my Solemn Martyrs, and as you can see in this photo, I do quick combat reforms. I have my Solemn Martyrs face off against the left-hand side of the marked men, as well at the same time my Zenithal Titans also do quick reformation to the left-hand side as well to engage my enemies. And that pretty much makes up the combat phase. So with that, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 for the Stormcast Eternals, and this photo is taken after the move phase, and as you can see in this photo, I decide to bring the pain. My plan is to finish off my opponent as quickly as possible before things quickly change. The first thing I do, of course, is I declare a charge with my Solemn Martyrs, who go crashing directly to the right-hand flank of the marked men. At the same time, I also declare a charge with my Scions of Mercy and have them charge straight forward, right down the barrel, directly into the marked men, catching those guys in a pincer attack with 2 units with shield wall formations, so that way I can get rank bonuses. And my opponent also counts as being disrupted because now he doesn't have a formation anymore because he's being flanked on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, I do declare a charge with my Zenithal Titans into the Black Legion. Unfortunately for me, though, I failed that charge. They're only going forward, I think, 3 or 4 inches is what they end up doing. At the same time, I also ride the winds etheric with my Heralds of Heaven. They fly over to the left-hand side behind those trees, facing off against the Scions of Destruction, the Destroyer. And I also, once again, march fly my Prosecutors from the Serfs of the Aether to the left-hand side to land right behind the Scions of the Destroyer, so that way I can catch those Knights in their pincer attack and finish them off. Meanwhile, my Venerable Falcons, of course, do a quick combat reform to face off against the Black Legion. And finally, my Skyforce Snipers stand the ground because there's no point for them to move. So as I close with the move phase with my Skyforce Snipers holding their ground with my Venerable Falcons turning 180 and finally rallying back in order to face off against the Black Legion. At the same time, there's a close-up of my Scions of Mercy as well as my Solemn Martyrs catching the marked men in a pincer attack, engaged from the front as well as from the right-hand side being flanked. And here's a close-up of my Zenithal Titans landing directly, filling their charge directly into the Black Legion, so they kind of move up their normal movement allowance for the most part. Meanwhile, there's a clear close-up of my Heralds of Heaven getting ready to engage the Scions of the Destroyer on the left-hand side of the battlefield. And finally, here's a close-up of my Servants of the Aether getting ready to bring the pain for the Scions of the Destroyer as well. So with the Moon phase over with, we go directly to the Magic phase. And during the Magic phase, I was able to get a couple of spells off. The first one was Healing Storm. I was able to bring back one of my Liberators who died earlier from my Solemn Martyrs, so that part was pretty epic. And once again, I was able to cast Lightning Chariot off on my Zenithal Titans, and they actually end up directly on the top of the battlefield, getting ready to square off directly against the Scions of the Destroyer. So now those guys are going to have to face down potentially 3 different units charging at them as well, which is great. So with the Magic phase over with, we go directly to the Shooting phase. And in the Shooting phase, combined fire with Orion the Sky Hunter, as well as my Seraphs of the Aether, as well as my Heralds of Heaven. They just basically opened. Oh, also, I forgot to. Yeah, they all just opened up directly onto the Scions of the Destroyer, and between all their shots, they were able to murder those guys to the very last man. So that part was epic as well. So with the Shooting phase over with, to go directly to the Combat phase. As you can see in this photo, the combat was an absolute bloodbath for the Khorne forces on this one. So in the end, my opponent was able to kill one of my Liberators as well as one of my Adjudicators. So that part was kind of sad. However, though, I was able to kill 12 members of the Marked Men. By the time it was all said and done, the only thing he had left was 6 of his Chaos Warriors left behind. Needless to say, my opponent lost by a landslide. He, of course, fled. I decided to pursue my Adjudicators. I think he ran back 5 inches. I think my Adjudicators ran forward 11 inches, so those guys got ran down, but in the end it really doesn't matter because Big Puka decides to surrender because all he has left is the Black Legion and he has nothing left over to pull off a victory on this one. So just like that, the Stormcast Eternals pull off a victory against the forces of Khorne. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the After Action report because this battle report is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Alright folks, now it's time for the After Action report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the After Action report for the Golden Age Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report number 125, and this one ended up being a victory for yours truly. I was able to score 2,439 victory points from Big Puka, and Big Puka scored 0 points from me. For my losses, I actually lost nobody. I actually got quite a bit of damage, but I didn't actually lose any fighters in this battle report. Big Puka, on the other hand, he lost the Dragonbane, Arbaal the Destroyer, the Fangs of Nier, the Marked Men, the Scions of the Destroyer, Crimson Chaos, the Blood Rider, as well as Red Ruin. In the end, this battle was very different for every battle I played up to this point with this army, because it's amazing what happens when you finally reread your rule set and get a better understanding of your army. Shield wall formation is absolutely fantastic. It allows your infantry forces to act like regular infantry. Now granted, you do lose the ability to march, but it really helped out in this battle, especially against the Sanguine Skinners as well as the Marked Men. It was very, very telling to have those rank bonuses and to disrupt my opponent's Fourth Masons at the same time. Now, at the same time, I think I found the ultimate use for my prosecutors. Usually I was trying to send those guys in to do close combat, but they kept on getting destroyed every single time. But now I think I know what I need to do with these guys. I need to use them as flying trolls for the most part, using movement shenanigans to shoot and outmaneuver my enemy, keep him always guessing at the same time whittle his forces in the back rank. Plus, I was able to use magic in this battle, which was an extreme rarity for me as well. And the reason why I was able to do this is because Big Puka decided to go with a no magic build for this army, try to stick with the whole thematic use of being Khorne. He has since, of course, gone back to the drawing board, trying with his forces, trying to find 5th gear with them, and trying to find the best fit with those guys. But even though he lost his battle, he was still an amazing opponent, very positive guy, loved playing against him, and as always, I am looking forward to the rematch against Big Puka. Currently, my Stormcast Eternals army now is at 5 victory as well as 6 defeats. However, I am looking forward to see exactly what happens with this army in the future, now that I have a better understanding of how to use it. So for that one, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do for this one. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is always appreciated. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this one, guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.